Okay, what is good? What is good, everybody? Hope you guys had a absolutely amazing weekend here. We're going to get started here in a second and we will be going live. So just gonna have the let the chat kind of build up a little bit here before we actually start our live session where we're gonna do our pre-market prep and our breakdown, right? So we're going to be breaking down what exactly we're looking for here in the markets today. What are some moves that we could actually be looking to capitalize off of? And we are going to look to absolutely crush it this week. So I hope you guys are ready. I hope you guys are active. We're gonna get into a couple of different things that we're gonna be looking for here today, and then we will hop off of this session and we'll trade live in our VIP. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to send this out to our team real quick so that everybody for our team can get joined up here, and we are going to look to absolutely smash it this week. Hope you guys are having a great start to your week here. There we go. Just got that sent out to my team so that they could have that there. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get started on what exactly I'm looking for this upcoming week. And, realistically, just what we're looking for here today in general. So if we take a look here, we can see that price has clearly formed a retest to our key area of interest here. Welcome, Eric. We're breaking down exactly what it is that we're looking for here today in the markets. Welcome. And so for those of you who were here and able to join yesterday for our live session, what did we talk about and what did we cover in terms of what we expected? Well, we expected for price to make this entire move up back into retesting this key area of resistance here. This is where we actually had a support now turn what we're anticipating into resistance to continue to the downside. And we talked about this on our live session yesterday. What were some key indications that price would actually push all the way back up to this area of interest and not break through this low? Well, if you were here yesterday for our pre-market session, you guys know that we talked about how price could on the open actually open with a gap down or a gap up depending. Now, why did we see a gap? Because the markets were moving as we were over the weekend, right? So what we ended up doing is we pushed down and we opened down here. Now, what did we see on our lower time frame that gave us the indication that price would likely make this move all the way back up to the top? Well, there's two indications, and the first one starts with our larger time frame. So taking a look at our weekly time frame, we knew that we were at a weekly key area of resistance. So this was the first indication. We had just tapped into a key area of resistance on the weekly time frame. Now, where did we bottom out at on this chart here? We bottomed out at our key area of interest at 23,100, a nice solid whole number, right? So what can we infer from that there, right? What can we take from that? Well, on this lower time frame here, we actually had a lower time frame shift. You can see price was creating lower lows and lower highs within this bearish market structure here, right? So we had a low, we had a high, lower low, lower high, lower low. This was the key high because it started the move that broke for this low here. Hope you guys are doing great today. We're breaking down the NASDAQ and what we're looking for in our pre-markets here going into our session. So for those of you who were here last night for last night's session, we talked about how price had actually formed a lower time frame shift. What do? We came up and we created a new high breaking through our previous high there, right? That indicated that price was now flipping from being a bearish market structure to now being a bullish market structure. And what would have invalidated this rule here? Well, what would have invalidated it is if we seen a break below this low. Those of you, like I said, who were here yesterday, you guys know we talked about this key area of interest and that it would likely push all the way back up. And what did we see happen for the rest of the session? Well, price pushed back up to that key area that we were looking for a retest at. Now, at this area, what are we seeing? We're seeing a sign of a strong rejection off of this area. This wick is an indication that price wants to actually hold below this level here. What also do we know, right? We know that our previous weekly closed bearish and this current weekly had to form a top wick. Good morning, brother. I hope you're ready to have a positive, productive day. Absolutely. I hope you guys are ready to absolutely crush it here today. Go ahead and smash that like button. If you guys are getting some value out of this, be sure to go ahead and tap that. Let's see if we can get over to 200 likes for this session here. So for those of you who were on this session yesterday, you guys know we talked about this move pushing all the way back up to our resistance because this was the only area that we actually had some resistance. Now, after tapping into this level, you can see price is rejecting off of this level. What was the area that we talked about yesterday? We said 25 or 23,500, right? We want to see some resistance at that 23,500. Nice psychological whole number here for price to potentially give us a steeper move to the downside. Let me actually scoot my chart over so you guys can see the actual numbers here. Okay, so these are the numbers that we're taking a look at. So 23,500 is where we actually have some resistance at. And you can see just based off of the reaction off of this area that, hey, this is a strong key level in the markets here. Now, what do I want to see happen from this level before looking to take any of my positions, right? Again, we're sell bias on this week because all of our time frames were in fact bearish. We are weekly bullish currently, but we coming off of a bearish weekly here. So what did I want to see at these key areas of resistance, at these key levels here? I wanted to see some type of reversal confirming that price actually wants to go from being in a bullish market structure to back being in a bearish market structure. And if we do flip back into a bearish market structure, where is somewhere that I could look to target that would give me the highest probability chance of success? That'll be back here, back at our previous or current weekly low at that 23,100. So this is actually where we're looking for price to gravitate to. Again, we talked about yesterday, I talked to you guys, so many of you, about not selling at this move here. Now, why is that? Because this is like stepping in front of a runaway train. We had this nice impulsive move to the downside and we needed some type of corrective structure to actually form. And so many traders were hopping in on sells immediately on the market open, not actually allowing this corrective structure to play out. What do we also know? The weekly has to form a top wick, right? So that is an indication of a correction as well. And what are we seeing now? Well, we're seeing price form this correction. We're at this resistance here. And what can we see at this resistance? What are some things that we want to see at this resistance that will confirm for us to be able to take a trade? Yeah, I wouldn't I would not do that there. Okay. Let's go ahead and block this. Yeah, sorry, King. We don't do any promos here. Okay, so what exactly were we looking for? And be sure, guys, if you guys are getting value out of this, be sure to smash the like button. Go ahead, let's see if we can't get to 1,000 likes here on this stream. So for those of you, like I said, who were here yesterday for our session, we talked about this move to the upside. What is it that we're going to be expecting to happen from this area? What are some key indications that price could actually go down? Well, the first key indication, right, the very first thing that tells us that we have some sign of resistance here is this rejection wick on our 15-minute time frame. You can even see it on our 4-hour and our 1-hour time frame. Staying below, again, that key area of resistance. This is the first indication that price could actually push to the downside, right? The very, very first indication. Now, what do we want to see from this area here? Well, we actually want to see some type of lower time frame shift or for price to actually stay below this area here. So if we can get price to actually stay below this area and to close back inside of the area on our market open, right? I'm going to be looking to trade market open. You can trade live with me Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in our VIP. We trade each of those days, shall I say. And we go through deep analysis like we're going through right now. So what do we see happening on our lower time frame? Well, I don't want to just sell this right here because we've retested our key area of interest. This is how you can get really messed up. I'm not going to lie to you. And what do we do? What do we teach here? We teach ACE, how to ace every trade. What does ACE stand for? ACE is an acronym that stands for ACE. What does this acronym stand for? This stands for anticipation. So the first thing that you need to do is to be able to execute in the markets. You need to be able to anticipate, what can the markets do? Anticipation. There we go. Now, after we anticipate what the market's to do, we need to wait for this second letter here. And what is the second letter? That's going to be our confirmation, right? So what would be a sign of a confirmation at this area? We already have some key signs that price, hey, look, is trying to respect this area of interest right here, right? That's our larger time frame key retest zone. We have this wick, but what would be an actual confirmation? Because this right now is not a confirmation that price wants to go down. It is an indication that price wants to go down, but not our confirmation. So what we would need to see happen is a lower time frame shift to form and this area of interest to hold. So what would I be looking for today in the markets to be able to look to take advantage of short positions? Well, I would want to see price form a lower time frame shift. What do I mean by a lower time frame shift? Can somebody drop in the chat what a lower time frame shift is? Does anybody know what a lower time frame shift is? I see you guys, we got 58 viewers, I believe, or a couple of viewers here, 60 viewers. Let's go ahead and smash that like button. If you guys are getting value out of this, be sure to tap that. Let's see if we can get to 2,000 likes here today. We have a break of structure, good sauce, lower, low. Yep, exactly. So exactly what we want to see here is we want to see the structure flip from being bullish, right, to now being bearish. Just because we've come back to a key area of resistance that we were anticipating, right, because we're going to look to ace every trade, doesn't mean that we have now our confirmation in this zone. We need to see confirmation in this zone here. So what would that be for me, right? We want to see this area of resistance hold for price to hold this level, right? And then give us some sort of impulsive move to the downside or lower time frame shift to start creating lower lows and lower highs in this area, right? And we can partner that with some type of bearish engulfing or other confluences based on our candle formation, right? That price is going to the downside. But our very first indication that price wants to push down is that right there. How many of you were here yesterday for us telling us, or how many of you were here yesterday for me telling you guys that price would likely go back up to this 23,500 and to not sell unless price broke below 23,100, right? I told you guys that yesterday. We talked about it. Why? Because the markets were showing that it was likely that we get some type of pullback, some type of correction. And this 23,500 was the first level of area of resistance that we were going to have to actually see that flip to push us to the downside. Again, you don't want to step in front of a moving train here, right? You don't want to just sell this because you see the markets are going down. You need some confirmation, right? You need to first anticipate and then you wait for your confirmation. Okay, so you guys are asking me, what does the E stand for in ACE, right? How do you ace every single trade? Well, the E stands for execution. So once you actually I'm spelling that wrong. Execution. So once you actually anticipate and wait for your confirmation, then you want to execute. And what is execution? That means getting in on your trade at proper risk management, understanding how you're going to manage the trade after you get in the trade, where are you going to be looking to take profits, where are you going to be looking to get out as price goes against you. These are all things that you need to be looking at when you're looking to execute, right? But first you need your anticipation, your confirmation, and then we execute. So many traders just want to hop on the charts and just execute, but you haven't anticipated where the price could go, nor have you waited for your confirmation, which is very, very key, right? You want to wait for that confirmation. Let the markets tell you what it wants to do, not the other way around. You don't tell the markets what you want it to do. You let the markets tell you what it wants to do, and you hop along the trend, right? You're just along for the wave, right? We're surfers here. And you want to find the perfect wave to actually hop in on and get you a spot and ride that wave, right? That's what we're looking to do. We're not looking to fight the wave. We're looking to let the wave develop and then to hop on the trend. Could we at least retest the big wick and then go down? Could it retest the big wick and then go down? Yeah, it absolutely can. Free Smoke said execution, absolutely beautiful. Make the trade. Finally, someone else who knows. Let's see here. We're crushing those 2,000 likes. So if you guys are getting value out of this, be sure to drop some likes. We're going to be diving into all of the different markets that I'm going to be looking for here today. And if you guys want to join, you guys can join our live trading group. We trade Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, giving you guys this sauce. We have our members in there executing with us and getting that value there. So I want you guys to, really take advantage of these, and we'll be on at 8 a.m. every single day, around 8 a.m. every single day to break down this pre-market prep. Enjoy that 9 to 5, bro. Now I haven't worked a job in 5 years. Trading is actually completely 180 my life, right? I used to DoorDash. I used to work at Amazon. I used to work at Walmart. I did all the jobs that you could think of. And once I actually started taking advantage of, the markets here, we've been able to just trade for a living, which is an absolute blessing. And I pray that everybody else can get to this level. What about 10:30 news? We do have news at 10:30. So I'm glad you mentioned that. Who is that? Post. Yeah. You said we have news at 10:30. What do we know about this economic news here, right? We have Powell speaking at 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. What could this do to the markets? What did we talk about yesterday? We talked about how news adds volume to an already predetermined market structure. So what is our market structure here? Well, our market structure on our 4-hour time frame especially is very, very bearish. We're in a bullish wave, but somebody tell me what this bullish wave is. How many of you know exactly what this bullish wave is? Because what we have here is an impulsive move down, right? High volume move to the downside, right? This is an impulsive move to the downside. And then we're seeing a corrective structure form on our 4-hour time frame. What do we anticipate would happen after this corrective structure form? Another impulsive move to the downside. So what could be a big driver of this impulsive move to the downside? We're already expecting that volume to come in with that news that could actually drive us to this downside here. So keep an eye out for that news that is releasing today at 10:30 with Powell speaking, and just be more cautious as you're trading around this move. A corrective buy for a push down. Yes, absolutely. Keep using those trend lines. I actually don't use trend lines. We talked about how trend lines yesterday, they're subjective, right? Somebody could post a trend line right here, and people's trend lines, they vary, right? You could say, okay, I'm connecting all these high points right here, but I also know people who connect them at the wicks, they connect them here, and you can find yourself, what's the problem with this? What's the problem with trend lines, and why don't I use trend lines? Let's actually talk about it. I'm glad you mentioned that there, right? Because they're subjective, and a lot of people trade breakouts based on trend lines. But how do you know whether to put your trend line right here, your trend line right here, your trend line right here? Where is it? Where does your trend line actually go? And where would an actual breakout be? It's subjective. That's why I don't like to use trend lines unless we're just using them to identify our overall market direction, to say, hey, price has been going to the downside. That's what I use trend lines for. We don't trade trend lines. We just use them as an overall example to say, hey, you know what? Price has been creating lower lows and lower highs within this bearish market structure. We likely could see, some steeper moves to the downside. Now, how would you determine where we could actually see that flip? That's why you need to understand what price action is in candle anatomy and be able to read the actual candles, because anybody can say, hey, yeah, we're going down, but where do you actually get in at, right? Where do you put your stop loss? Where do you put your take profit? These are things that you would need to know prior to getting in on any single trade. And so that's why I don't personally like trend lines. I definitely, you can use them as a overall directional bias to help you if you're struggling. I also recommend taking a look at the line chart. If you don't know which direction price is moving, go to the line chart here. The line chart will show you clearer than you would see on, let's say, your candlestick chart, exactly what's going on in the markets. We can clearly see lower lows and lower highs getting priced in, right? We had a nice impulsive move, slower push up. I can anticipate likely another impulsive move to the downside, right? And so, being able to identify where you're at in your trend, what wave you're currently in. Again, we're in that retracement corrective wave, right? Where is our largest time frame resistance? In order to flip this structure on this larger time frame from being bearish to bullish, where would price have to break? It would have to break this high. Why would it have to break this high here? Because this is the highest point that started for the move that broke through our previous low. So you can see here, when we broke through our previous low, the start of that move, all of this move here is one impulsive wave. This was our high. So in order for us to flip our 4-hour time frame to being from bearish to being bullish, it would have to break that there, and that would flip our larger time frame structure, and we would likely start to see some higher highs and higher lows get formed. What is more likely, right? Because this is a probabilities game, right? We're in the game of probabilities. It's more probable that we get some retest of a key area of interest, even if price comes back up all the way up to this 23,800. We talked about it here. If price pushes through our first level of resistance here, and we do not see that essential change in state that we were looking for at that 1 hour key area of resistance, at that, again, 23,500, that's the level that's going to be very, very solid there. 23,500. Then we can see a steeper move up to our larger time frame resistance, and at this area we're looking heavily for sales, right? Looking for that change of state right there to give us a steeper move to the downside. We got 72 followers here. Can you guys, if you guys are getting value out of this, be sure to spam those likes. We want to get this stream out to as many people as possible so that they are not confused as to what is going on in the markets. That's what this is for, so that you guys understand what's going on. It's not accurate in my eyes. It's only useful in certain times. I'm assuming that you're talking about trend lines there. This guy says AI. Funny. Facts. I got 397 left to my account. Blows. Where do you think the entry is going to be at today? Well, key areas of interest, right? Where are we going to look for possible reversals? Again, I am short bias here today, but we have to wait and see how our news plays out. But right here at this 23,500, that's a good area where we could actually see a lower time frame shift and a lower time frame reversal. We do need to see this area of interest hold, though. If not, we could likely see a steeper move up into that larger 4 hour key area of interest at that 23,800. Me personally, I'm inclined to sell moves. I want to see any sell move that we can get to go back and swing this 23,100 area of interest. Why? It's a probability thing. We are creating lower lows and lower highs on this larger time frame structure, so I'm anticipating a lower high to get formed and us to price in a lower low. What else do we know? We know that our monthly candle is closing as a bearish candle this week, right? If you do your top down analysis, you'll see this candle is closing as a very strong bearish monthly candle, and we could likely see a steeper move to the downside on the next month. So we're all inclined to deeper moves down on our, both our monthly and weekly time frame. What do we think that the weekly is doing right now? Is pricing in that top wick, right? So we're looking bullish, on our weekly currently, but we're anticipating this to just be the top wick. Where could we see some rejection? We could see some rejection where we're at that 23,500, or a steeper move up into this 23,800 to give us that rejection and flip to the downside. All targets for me this week are going to be breaking this current weekly low at this 23,100. Damn, bro, you're good at explaining. I appreciate it. I do this every single day for the past 5 years, so I absolutely love this. Why are you trading on the monthly candle? No, sir, we're not trading the monthly candle. You use that as an identification. Why am I looking at the monthly candle? Because we have just 2 days until this monthly candle close. You need to understand how this monthly candle is closing, because that will give you an idea on what we could see for the very next month, right? So we're going to be heavy sells on this next month, right? Let's actually take a look at the quarterly candle. We know in 2 days, this first quarter is ending here. What are we closing as on this first quarter of this year? Well, we're closing as a strong bearish move. What can we see? A steeper move to the downside for the next quarter to give us either a steep wick like this, or to actually give us a bearish move that's going to go to the downside. What have we gotten every time we close as a bearish candle on the quarter? We've gotten that quarterly sweep, right? So understanding where you are in the larger time frame and then utilizing that data on our lower time frame is very, very integral. The markets are like a puzzle. How many of you guys know what a rushing nesting doll is? This is in fact NQ. How did you get into trading? I actually looked up, 6 years ago when I was in college, broke college student. I looked up how to make money online, and that's how I ran into trading. Okay. Let's get, if you guys are getting some value out of this, be sure to spam the likes on here, right? We're going to get to 3,000 likes. Can we crush 3,000 likes? Yes, we are trading the NQ. This is what we're looking at here today. Breaking this down for you guys before I actually go live with our VIP for our live trading session. Again, look at this resistance here that we have at this 23,500, right? If price holds below this 23,500, I'm telling you guys, this is a strong level that price could actually reverse off of. If you guys were here yesterday, we've been talking about price pushing back up into this level, right? We got that full on corrective structure to form, right? We got an impulsive move, a corrective structure to form, and now we're at that key area of resistance. And look at how price is reacting off of this level here. This is the first indication that price could potentially form a flip. This is not to say that price is flipping, but this is giving us a clue, just a piece that, hey, this is the earliest indication of a possible flip, right? And so what do we see happen here? Like if, for instance, let's take a look at this area. You can see that price was rejecting off of this 23,800, right? We pushed up, we printed in this long wick. Price could not go back up to break this high, and instead it formed an impulsive move down where we had a nice high volume move to the downside and then a corrective structure or retracement up, followed by another impulsive leg, right? So what are we anticipating? We're in that corrective structure, right? Or retracement to now give us an impulsive leg. And what do we know about our weekly? Our previous weekly closed bearish. So we're anticipating this weekly to close bearish. Our monthly is in fact closing bearish. So we're anticipating overall price to go to the downside here this week. And where are some key areas? It's our job as traders to find out what are those key areas that we could actually see price continue in the direction of the trend. Again, we talked about being able to trade the corrective structure yesterday, and we have some videos on YouTube that break down how to actually trade a corrective structure. Just got to understand that when trading the corrective structure, this is going to be generally what I would like to say a lower risk move, and you want to be quicker on moving your stops to break even, taking your profits at key areas of interest. Because why? Because at any given moment, we could flip back into the direction of our larger time frame trend with an impulsive move, right? So these are some things that that you want to be looking out for. Are you trading during Powell's speech? I won't be trading during the speech. We'll likely trade the volume after the speech, right? So the volume that comes after the news, that's what we're going to be looking to trade there. We're almost at 5K likes. Can we get to 5K likes before this session ends? You guys spamming it there. I appreciate you guys. If you guys are getting some value out of this, let me just make sure you guys are getting value, right? Anybody getting value out of this? Drop ace in the chat if you're getting some value out of this live stream here today. I want to make sure that you guys are actually picking up what I'm putting down here. Are you picking up what I'm putting down, right? I want this to make sense to you guys, man. The markets are like a puzzle, right? With each individual piece, we put together the picture of what the markets is trying to tell us. And that is how we actually make money. So drop those aces in the chat if you're actually getting some value out of this session here today. I wanted to see who's getting some value. I want to make sure that I'm there. I'm 65% with you. I just got my first payout. I'm buying a PC with it. Congratulations on that first payout, brother or sister. I don't know what you are, but congratulations on there. That is a big accomplishment there. Just came across your account and you're dropping tons of helpful info. Follow. I appreciate the follow, E. I appreciate the follow. I see some aces in there from Dennis. Appreciate that. Dennis, you guys are getting some value out of here. I dropped the follow, bro. I usually trade gold, but this is great information. We're going to take a look at gold here in a second as well. I trade gold, NQ, ES, and S&P 500. Why is it so hard to make that second payout? Well, because you're probably putting a lot of pressure to make a second payout. Again, what is our goal as traders? Our goal isn't to try to make money in the market. Our goal is to actually put ourselves in the best position to see success. So if you find yourself forcing trades because you want to make a payout or you have a monetary target, this can actually cause you to make some impulsive decisions. You're not going to be, abiding by your system. You're not going to be abiding by your strategy. You're not going to be patient to be able to wait for, your confirmation and different things like that, because you're just so eager to make money. I want to make money so bad that I'm willing to lose it all in order to do that. And so many traders are just in that loop of I want to make money. I don't come to the markets every day saying I want to make money. I come to the markets each day with a very clear objective. I want to abide by my system 110% and let the results then take care of themselves, because that's what they do. The results take care of themselves. They're a byproduct of doing the right things. And what did we talk about yesterday? We talked about atomic habits, right? The aggregation of marginal gains, right? As you build these 1% good habits, then that reflects and it compounds. It might not be noticeable or notable in the beginning, but it compounds to amazing results over time, right? So my goal is to show up every single day and execute on the things that I'm supposed to do, building those good habits. If you're constantly over trading outside of your session, trading outside of your system, then you're building 1% errors, and 1% errors combine into toxic results, right? Blown accounts, thousands of dollars wasted on funding challenges, this doom cycle of, starting a strategy, getting, starting with a strategy. It's called the Dunning-Kruger effect for those of you who don't know. But where you start a strategy, you have this valley of despair, and then you just keep going on this repeated cycle of, okay, starting a new strategy, seeing a little success, going through a drawdown period, starting a new strategy. And by going through that loop, you never actually see, success with trading. You have to stick with something long enough to actually see how it performs in the markets, and then be able to do that consistently, which is the hardest part there. That's what it is. You are saying the actual facts, bro. I absolutely appreciate that, Sam. Look, I don't come here to spit you guys, false information, right? You're very educated, sir. Don't ever stop. Thank you. Look, this is just our third live stream here. We're gonna be crushing these lives. If you guys are enjoying this, please be sure to drop those likes there, spam it up. Just follow. Just happened to pass by, scrolling down, doing my analysis on US 30 dropping. Good luck. Yep. We'll actually take a look here at US 30 here in a second as well, for those of you who want to take a look at that. We're going to be also looking at gold, right? So I trade gold, the NAS 100, or the NASDAQ, and we trade the S&P and the the Dow Jones. So true. I just want to be consistent in my trading. Yeah, you got to really focus on just building consistency, right? And how do you become a consistently profitable trader? You have to first consistently execute, right? So many people is like, how don't you, I want to be a consistent trader, but you're not executing consistently, right? How can you be a consistent trader when you're doing something different every time you take a trade? You can't find consistency in that. You have to stick with something long enough to actually see, when does my strategy thrive? When doesn't it thrive? I know for a fact that 70% of my losses happen in choppy market structures. How do I know that? Somebody asked me, how do I know that? Right? I journaled my trades. This is my journal going back from 2022, right? I've journaled every single trade, all the impulsive moves that I was taking. First in my trading journey, you can see here, early 22, right? I was taking a lot of false breakouts, false breakout, early entry, right? I wasn't being patient to actually let my setup play out, right? Entry or early entry candle never closed below support, right? So I was getting caught on false breakouts all the time because I wasn't patient enough to wait for my actual confirmation. Did not wait for candle confirmation, early entry, closed in 50% drawdown, not waiting for my trade to actually hit the full take profit. So through this journaling, right, I got so much information about my system and about my strategy, but so many traders will take one trade or see 1 week or 1 month of trading and then completely 180 your strategy, right? How do you know when your strategy thrives versus when it doesn't thrive? When to use it versus when not to use it? Why do I trade the New York session? Because I know that we have the most consistent volume in our New York session. If we pull up our indicator here, it's specifically for the assets that I'm trading, right? Because it depends on what assets you're trading, 110%. But for the assets that I'm trading, I know with my system, check this out. Check this out here. We're going to pull up the sessions, right? The previous 100 trading sessions here for the NASDAQ. Let's take a look at it, right? Why do I trade the New York session? Somebody asked me the other day, why do I trade this New York session? So let's go to it. We got the previous 100 days of our New York session. Now let's take a look specifically at these New York sessions. And what do we see, notice about these, right? What do we have here? High volume in terms of the spike. This day was a little choppy, high volume, volume. Okay day, volume, right? These are our most volume, or these are the times that offer the most volume. What do I need in my markets? I need volume to actually capitalize on my best moves. So if I know that we have the most volume in this session time, why wouldn't I take advantage of that session time and leave all of the other sessions, right? Because I have a higher chance at losing outside of my session. That's why I trade the New York session in particular, right? So this is why it's so important that you stay with the system long enough to actually find out, is my system even profitable, right? Am I doing something right? Or is it just, the market cycle that I'm in? And so that's what we actually teach here, right? For those of you who've been on here for the whole time, look at that 23,500 level. Price is still trying to hold under that 23,500 level. This is going to be a key level that we're going to look for a possible reversal off of in session. Keep an eye out for that. How do I journal if I use order flow? You can still track your trades, your entries, your exits, the profit loss on it, your emotions while being in it. Bro, send me that Excel. I love it. I will drop the link to it as well. Here, hold on. Let me see. Let me get that link for you guys. See if I can't get that out there for you. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull that up here. We'll pull up our charts. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. I will get that for you guys. I have my full step-by-step trading journal, or I have my full step-by-step journal, and we also have our, let me pull up our chart here. And we also have our 9-step blueprint that'll walk you through exactly how I trade every single trade here with the risk management and all of the different things that you'll need to know to actually execute on it with the links there. I'm going to drop the link so that you guys can get access to that. So just give me 1 quick second and then we'll get back into our breakdown here. Boom. And what I like to call it is my Ace Trader Starter Pack. So every trader needs a starter pack, right? This is going to help you to both see how I'm executing in the markets and how you could actually execute as well. So if I can get this, I don't know how I can get this here to pin. Let's see. Command Shift V. Nope, that didn't work. Okay. I'll have to see if I can't like drag it over here or something. Let's see if that works. Ah, that seemed to work. All right, there you go. So you can get that Ace Trader Starter Pack in that there. Go send that out, I think. It won't let me send it. I'm so sorry. Hey, if you guys want that Ace Trader Starter Pack, just DM me. Again, I'm still working out how to utilize this this live trading or this TikTok live. So, you know, bear with me, guys. Bear with me. But if you guys want that, just make sure that you just DM me and we'll go from there. Aphrodite, appreciate the follow. Everybody who is following live, we're going to be going live every day at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time so that I give you guys these pre-market preps. And we got about 20 more, about 10, 15 more minutes here. So we're going to take a look at some of the other charts as well. Again, I trade live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in our VIP. So if you guys want to join the VIP, you can find that link in our bio. You can trade live with me, and not this week, but next week, we'll be doing a giveaway in that VIP. We're going to be giving away 5, I almost said the wrong number. We're going to be giving away 5 account challenges to you guys there, and you'll be able to trade those with me live in the VIP. So not only will you get the free challenge, but you could trade with me live and actually get those challenges passed and, get you on the right side of things, start making some consistent payouts in the market, set consistent funding there. Is this NQ? Yes, this is NQ. Does this work for different styles of trading like options? Absolutely works with options. As long as you can read candles on the charts, then you can execute on any market structure. Doesn't matter if you're trading Forex, you're trading futures, you're trading crypto, you're trading stocks, you're trading options. It doesn't not matter what it is that you're trading. Reading price action is reading price action and market trends. Once you understand how to actually read this here, then you will be able to execute on any market in any market cycle. Not only that, but you'll be able to identify what market cycle you're currently in, and that is very, very crucial. That is the A in our Ace Trader method of anticipation, right? So you need to anticipate first what the market is going to do, wait for your confirmation, and then execute. Are you guys getting value out of this? Drop some aces in the chat if you guys are getting some value out of this here. I 100% believe you got them payouts. Can you show us? Oh yeah, sure. So if you want to see a few of my payouts here, absolutely. We turned actually $100 into $10,000 worth of payouts, starting with one singular 100K account. We have a full video on my YouTube breaking that down as well. Let me pull this up here so you guys can see. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. You see this here. These are just a few of the payouts that we got from one singular 100K account. Over $10,000 in payouts from just 100K account. And that only, my initial investment in challenges was only, I think, like $300, right? So we turned one account into over $10,000 in profits. And then from that $10,000 in profits, we turned that into $1.15 million in funding. You don't need a lot of money to start trading. You just need to know the skill. I went from $1.6 million in funding, lost it all because all of the firms that I was funded with actually shut down, right? So then we switched from Forex to futures, and then we grew up that $1.1 million in funding again to have now over $1 million in funding, pulling out consistent payouts in the market. So if you want to learn how I do that, again, you can click the link in my bio. You can join the VIP. We trade live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You can trade live with me, getting all of this special value, right? So we got a little bit more time here. Let's take a look at some of the markets that we were talking about yesterday. We talked about this gold move. Who was here yesterday when we talked about this gold move? We talked about how, let me remove these drawings here. We talked about how gold was at a key pivotal point, right? We talked about how we're inside a rock in a hard place. What is our rock? This is our rock right here, and this is our hard place. If we're looking at this daily time frame, right? This is our rock, this is our hard place. Price is in between this structure here. We have swept this low, so we know two things. Let's take a look at what we know. We know that we have a rejection here, right? This was the first indication. We have a rejection here. This long wick indicates a rejection. The weekly time frame closed as a bullish candle, meaning that price was in fact bullish at our weekly close. Now, let's take a look at what we have in terms of our price action here. What type of market structure are we in? Well, we had an impulsive move down, and what is following is a corrective structure or a retracement move. Now, I said that yesterday, I don't want to trade inside of this range. For me, gold has to determine where is it going. We cannot trade in a neutral state. What did I say? I said 70% of my losses happen in a choppy market structure. But what is an actual choppy market structure? A choppy market structure is indicated by a neutral market where price hasn't decided whether it's going up or it's going down. We have in this wave here, obviously on our 4-hour time frame, we are pushing up. And so we said that we were looking for a steeper move to the upside, but we really want to see how price reacts as we gravitate towards these highs, because this is where we could actually see some type of flip, some type of reversal. We had an impulsive move down and a corrective structure back up. Okay. We're going to block him because we're not doing the whole promoting stuff. I don't want you guys to get scammed. If anybody is ever promoting in my thing that is, isn't showing you to my live or anything like that, or guaranteeing a 99% sure signal, that is absolutely false. Because there's nobody that has a 99% win rate. How do you make the rectangles on TradingView, man? Help me out. Absolutely, man. So what you want to do is you want to actually come over here to your tools section. So let me see if I can show you guys this real quick. Got you, brother. Got you. Never going to leave y'all lacking. So this is all the tools that I use here. I actually have a full video on my YouTube that breaks down all the tools, all the indicators that I use. I don't really use indicators because the word indicator can make you think that it actually is going to predict where the market is going. But indicators are lagging measures of price action. So keep that in mind. But in terms of the tools that I use, if you want this box here, I think you have to go over to forecast. No, I think it's geometric shapes. So geometric shapes, you want to come over here to the rectangle. Now, once you do this, you want to favorite the rectangle, and as you put it on your screen, it's not going to show you this extension here. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to double click that, and then you want to make sure that you hit extend right. So that's going to extend it to the right there, and then you want to go ahead and make the opacity to like 46 or something like that, so that you can actually see through it. You don't want it to be a solid rectangle here, right? We go like that. You can't actually see. We go like this. You can't actually see through it. I mean, you can a little bit, but it makes it a little bit harder to see our candles there. So we want to make sure that we go ahead and make that opacity around that 46 there. And then that's how we go there. So if you wanted that tool, that's how I use that. And let's get back into these markets because we got a few more minutes before we hop on with our VIP. Get his course, y'all. It's 5 bands. No, I don't have a course. We do have a free beginner's trader guide on YouTube that you can go through. If you are a beginner trader, you could actually walk through it there. Can we get to 10,000 likes before this actually ends? We have a few more minutes here. What time frame are you in, and what do you trade? I am on currently the 4-hour time frame, but we're looking at I trade gold, I trade NAS 100, I trade the S&P, and I trade Dow Jones. Do you enter off the 15-minute time frame? I typically enter off of the 5 or the 1 minute, depending. What's your VIP for? In the VIP, we trade live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with our team members. We also have some weekend practice sessions, and then you guys can actually, set up some personal sessions if you're interested to actually, learn how to trade. We build your whole blueprint, and, week by week, we'll put together that plan in terms of how you're going to execute each week, different things. And, it just depends on what your goals and your targets are. So it definitely does vary. Is your other live free? It is a paid live, but it is only $50. So for those of you who want to join with us for those live trading sessions where we're actually executing in the markets, these breakdowns are good, but how do you actually take advantage of these moves? It's just $50. If you don't have $50 to put into it, right, then you likely shouldn't be looking to risk and trade your money, right? Your own money, especially without a solid base of education. Because yes, I was able to turn $100 into over $10,000 profit, but you need the skill to be able to do that. Otherwise, you'll just spin your wheels, spending a whole bunch of money, and you don't want to give all of your money to these prop firms and to your broker and different things like that, because you don't, simply because you didn't spend the time to educate yourself on how to actually properly do this. What instrument is that? That was gold. We're going to be taking a look here at the YM for a second. In terms of gold, we're just kind of on the sidelines here for gold, waiting to see where gold is actually going to give us in terms of our market direction. For the YM, you can see we're getting that corrective structure. We talked about how we could see a steeper corrective structure on the YM simply because we had this shallow break here at this 45,480 levels, a steeper move up. If we would have gotten a nice impulsive move to the downside or a correction and continuation down, then we could have seen that steeper move down. But we were anticipating, since we had a shallow break. And what is a shallow break? It just means a low break of structure, right? This is not a shallow break. Price, once it broke through this level, it immensely pushed to the downside. This right here had a shallow break where we pushed to the downside, and then we immediately started to see some type of, some form of a corrective structure to form there. So we are looking for a displacement lower. We just have to wait and see where price is actually going to give us that. And we have the volume today to be able to flip this structure from being bullish to being bearish with that news that we have at 10:30. If you go through my step-by-step blueprint here, this actually walks you through how we want to look at the markets each and every day. And the first thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that, one, we're trading in our session. It has the pairs that I trade and everything. So if you guys want this, just DM me. I'll send you this, and it comes with my free trading journal as well. All of this is free right here. This is just specifically for you guys to get better. And it's a checklist. We want to trade the 9:30, the New York session. Check my FX book for any news. Why? Because it helps to spot potential volatility. We know that we have news coming out today at 10:30 that could add the volatility, and then you want to identify your structure, and this will break you through my entire step-by-step system. And then I have videos of me actually implementing live trades, and then walking you through these steps step by step. So if you guys want to see that, you can see that here. How we actually got max allocated funding with Take Profit Trader, utilizing this system while being on vacation. We ended up passing one account in an airport and the other one in an Airbnb, and then our team members actually getting results utilizing the system as well. So if you want this, you can DM me. I'll send it to you after the session here. Okay, so we got about 5 more minutes here. What am I looking for here today? I am looking for a continuation of the move to the downside. Again, my biggest thing is going to be this NASDAQ right here. I want to see how price reacts around this 25,100 if we're going, or 23,500, excuse me, and if we're going to see some lower time frame shift or lower time frame reversal. What I want to see, and what you could do, is you could set an alert here at this 23,434 level, right? That's that level that's going to give us that key, like, hey, price does want to in fact push to the downside. If we can break back through this level, especially if we get a nice impulsive move here with that news, we could see a continued move to the downside. We're going to be looking to target that 23,100 low for price to continue pushing to the downside. Overall, we're bearish on this weekly in terms of our bias. Appreciate all of the guys. Learn yourself if you really want to learn. Take the time. Stop. Yeah, I mean, so you can say take the time. Let's talk about what your comment there, Mikey. Mikey said, learn for yourself. If you really want to learn, take the time. Stop paying for these LARPs. Okay, let's talk about that. I know a trader who's been trading for 5 years on YouTube and just jumping from mentor to mentor, from strategy to strategy, and hasn't seen any success. But I also have traders who have joined our VIP and joined our community who have gotten funded in as little as a month, 2 months of being there. So what is the real payment that you're paying? What's worse, wasting 5 years of your time spinning your wheels in circles, or actually paying somebody up front to actually skip that process? Because that's what you do, is you're paying for education to skip that learning and trial and error process, which takes time. It took me 1.5 years in order to get my first payout. It didn't take members in my community as long to get their first member, because they had somebody actually walking them through the right steps and the right things that they should do, right? So as someone who's been trading for about 6 years, constantly learning and understanding is watching. Exactly. I only watch Sai, but I like how you teach. I got funded twice, having trouble with payout. So the key question would have to ask yourself, if you got funded twice, what did you shift anything from actually getting? Because what I like to think of evals is evals are like level 1, right? You're in there, level 1 is easy or whatever, but once you get to the funded account, that actually is level 2, and level 2 is much harder. on your psychology. It's not harder in terms of an execution. You're still doing the same exact thing, but it can really weigh heavily. And the couple of things that most traders run into is they're wanting to risk more money than what they have to risk, or they're trying to force a payout, so they're not being patient and waiting for their setups to actually play out, and different things like that. So the question would be, what happened once you actually got funded that shifted from when you were actually on the eval there? So that's what I would say. Everyone and coming to your own understanding. You watched Psy fight KJ Saturday in Miami. I seen like some post about it. I didn't watch the fight. I know that it was a little controversial in terms of who they thought won. But for example, this live also confirmed my weekly bearish bias. I didn't need this, but it helps. No, exactly. And so not everybody needs, you know what I'm saying, education. What I recommend though is that you do have some type of, especially if you're trading alone. Trading alone is one of the hardest things. What Akumi said is that, for example, this live helped confirm his weekly bearish bias, right? So sometimes you don't need somebody to tell you exactly what you want to do. And that's not what I teach. I don't tell you to buy or sell. I teach you how to actually read the markets and how to gain confidence in your system and in your ability of understanding how the markets work, so that when you executing, you're not constantly second guessing yourself. You're not over leveraging. You're not over risking, and you have somebody there that's actually holding you accountable. It's easy to abide by a system for 1 week, but can you do that for 3 years? Can you do that for 4 years, 5 years? That is what true consistency means, right? And so being able to do that over and over and over again and show up with the same type of mindset each and every day is very, very crucial. Again, take a look at how we're moving here at this 23,500. Keep an eye out for this 23,500. Nice solid hold number where we could see some type of correction form, right? Keep an eye out for that. Let's see. I peeped the highlights. Okay. Appreciate that. Everybody who's following, I appreciate you guys. We are at 11,000 likes. I cannot believe it. This is just our second live trade here. We're almost at, hey, look, 2 more followers and we crush over 100 followers this live session. That'll be payment enough for me. End of Q1? Absolutely. This is the end of Q1. So keep an eye out for the next quarter. We took a look at the quarterly candle here. This quarterly candle for the NASDAQ is closing as an extremely bearish candle on the quarterly. We're expecting the next quarterly to give us a steeper move down. Good catch. That's utilizing your top-down analysis, and that's how you actually want to execute. You use that top-down analysis, you go from there. Okay, we have one more follower, Malcolm. I appreciate the follow. Orlando, appreciate the follow as well. For all of you guys who are following us here, I greatly appreciate you guys. If you guys are getting some value out of this, drop an ace in the chat. I want to make sure that you guys are getting some value and that I'm not just sitting here wasting you guys' time. I wanted to make sure that you are actually taking something from this live that you can actually utilize. I see user Ace. I see Nat Digger Ace. I appreciate that. Terry says Ace. Appreciate that. Sam says A. Yep. Ace from Money. Ace from Tony. Ace. Okay, so I'm seeing you guys dropping that ace. So that leads me to know that you guys are actually getting some value out of this here. So I appreciate that. Okay, so I have just a few more minutes and then I have to get to my group. I want to sit here with you guys all day and just talk these markets, but I have to give the members of my group that time because we're going to be trading live here in a minute. But I do want to talk about some key things to look out for so that I give you guys a little bit, something on the outgoing here. So again, keep an eye out. Look at this 23,500 level, right? We're still holding under this 23,500 level. Keep an eye out. This is a strong area. This is a strong area. If you were here yesterday, we talked about this full corrective structure to come back up to this area and to keep an eye out as how price moves at this area. This is going to be very, very crucial, right? Super crucial. And if you're not following me yet, go ahead and drop a follow because you don't want to miss out on our next session. We're going to be going live every morning. I'm going to give you guys my pre-market prep. I'm going to give you guys the targets that I'm looking for, the overall direction that I'm looking for, and just dropping game as you guys ask questions here. Do I have to shave all my hair to join the group? Hey, look, you can if you want, brother. You can if you want. I'm not going to say it's going to give you more profitability, but you might be able to think a little clearer. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to appreciate you that E-Man letting him know that he doesn't have to cut his hair. I actually didn't cut my hair. You think I would be bald by choice? I mean, we still look good now. Come on now, we still look good. But I have alopecia. Okay, yeah, if you want to join the VIP, you can join the VIP. The link is in my bio. You guys can just go there. We trade live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And like I said, if you are in the VIP, not this week, but next week, we're going to be giving away 5 challenge accounts of any size with Apex, right? So that means you can have the end of day trailing, you can have the intraday trailing, you could go up to their 150K account, the 100K account, 50K account, whatever size account that you want. We have those there available for you as we work with, we work with that there. So nah, I don't mind my thoughts running. I don't want my thoughts running away. Yeah, it's okay, man. Look, it's just one of those things. It's just one of those things. But again, if you guys got some value out of this, I see you guys dropping all of those likes there. We have 12,000 likes. I see some gifts here. I don't really know how the gifts work, but I promise I'll learn more about these gifts and figure out how to work. This is just my 3rd live stream. So look, bear with me, chat, right? I'm trying to just give you guys as much value in as short amount of span that I can without, being too rambly here. So I will take, if anybody has any chart that they want to look at or anything that they want to take a look at real quick, I have 5 minutes before I hop on with my team. Is there anything or any lasting questions that you have? And again, make sure to follow so that you can stay up to date with what it is that we're looking for in the markets. I want you guys to be able to understand how the markets are moving. And just by showing up to these lives, 2 things. 1, you prove to yourself that you actually have what it takes to get better because you're sitting here trying to put yourself in the best position to be able to capitalize. And 2, you'll actually start learning how the markets are moving just by being on these sessions. Just how does a profitable trader think? How does a profitable trader move? That's what you need to download. It's not necessarily that you need to download a strategy. How do you handle losses? How do you, handle when your strategy is going through, let's say, a drawdown period? Do you switch it up? These are different things that you would need to understand from a profitable trader, somebody who's actually been through all of those things. And that's what you pay for in a VIP or for a mentorship or something like that. You pay for the mindset so that you can skip the process of the learning curve. Alex Hermosi, I'm a big read books guy, right? So I'm not going to just spit you guys information here. I'm a big books guy. Alex Hermosi, one of the best marketers out there, literally made $100 million on his $100 million model book release, right? Absolutely crazy, smashing it, right? But what he talked about, he spent $24,000 for 5 minutes of this guy's time. $24,000 for 5 minutes of this guy's time. What did that guy tell him? He told him do a webinar a week, every week, until you make $1 million. And do not come back to me until you do that. You're saying $24,000 for that? What? But that advice made him millions, right? And then he didn't have to sit 2, 3, 4, 5 years to actually learn, hey, I got to start doing webinars to make $1 million. He got that information from somebody and he was able to, it's basically like a fast pass. It's like a fast pass to success, not to guarantee that you're going to have success, but to utilize all the trials and errors that somebody else has already gone through so that you don't have to go through it, or so that you at least know it, right? Okay, let's take a look at this. This gold, nope, this is in Q. Meta, please. Bitcoin, how do you understand what the news is saying? The market sentiment will tell you. Essentially, you can actually click these news events here. And if you don't know who Fed Powell is, he is the head of our Federal Reserve. I mean, the Fed, right? And what does the Fed do? The Fed regulates our monetary policy. So if the markets are not the markets, but really the economy is slowing up, then they have to regulate the interest rates essentially to add more, not volume. What's the term that I'm looking for? To add more, to get more influx of people spending. So like, for instance, when we went through COVID, for those of you who were alive during COVID, right? People stopped spending money. A lot of places closed down and people stopped spending their money. So this was very, very bad for the economy. So what did they have to do to actually jumpstart that, right? To get it going, they had to give out a lot of money. So what did they do? They created stimulus checks. What's the best way that you can get people to start spending money is give it to them for free, right? And so that actually starts to circulate the economy, but it has a negative effect as well, which we've seen 2 years later, where we went into a hyperinflation period because the government can't just print more dollars, right? As they're printing more dollars, each dollar that gets printed, the value or purchasing power of that dollar goes down. So what do we see happen after COVID? Gas prices spiked to all-time highs. We've seen, the price of eggs was absolutely ridiculous, right? So these are some of the effects that happen. But if inflation goes for too long, right, then we can slip into a depression where people again are not spending money because the price of goods and services are too high. So it's the Fed's job to actually regulate the balance between, inflation and slipping into a depression. That's what they do there. uh do 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 Simply if you can, I'm sure. Talk about technical analysis. A technical analysis is the bread and butter of every trading system. So if you can understand what technical analysis is just simply what we're doing here, reading what the price is telling us on the charts and then, reacting to it. That there. Okay, so that's going to wrap up here today. I don't have any more time. I wish I could give you guys more time, but if you want to join me live for our VIP session, we trade live again Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You can join. Click the link in my bio. And if you guys want my full step-by-step nine steps, and then you can full step-by-step system, goodness, and my full trading journal, you can just send me a DM. I'll shoot you this over. You'll get access to this. You'll get sent to our blueprint. Our Ace Trader starter pack is what it is called, where you'll get the full blueprint and the full trading journal there. But that is going to wrap it up here. We got about 12,000 likes, so I appreciate you guys there. We did crush the like goal and we crushed the follower goal as well. So I will catch you guys tomorrow. So real quick, drop in the chat, did you get some value out of this? Drop an ace in the chat if you got some value. I want to see those aces there if you guys got some value out of today's session. That lets me know that, hey, look, let's come back and we'll do this again, right? I see an ace there, see an ace from Money Sign, see an ace from Sam. Appreciate you guys being active. Ace from E-Man, appreciate that there. You guys are getting some value out of this. That means everything to me. Ace from Dennis, appreciate that, Dennis. Ace from, I don't want to mess up your name. AI Silverstone is what that is. That's what it says. AT Blanco, appreciate the ace there. Okay, yeah. You guys are getting value out of this, so that means I did my part here today. Keep an eye out for this key area of interest and watch out for that news that's going to be released at 10:30, right? That can really add volume into the markets. If you trade prior to that, make sure that you're covering your moving stop loss to break even and, protecting that risk, because we don't know which way the markets can go as that news is released, but we do know that it could likely add some volume, and I personally will be trading the volume that follows after. So I appreciate you guys. 10:30 EST. Yes, sir. 10:30 EST. So that's when that news event comes out. Keep an eye out for that. Powell will be speaking. And I appreciate, like I said, if you're not following me, go ahead and just drop the follow now, because you want to be able to come back to these live sessions. We're going to be dropping dimes. I'm telling you, this is just our second day hopping on these live sessions. So we're going to be hopping on each and every day, giving you these pre-market preps and, breaking down and just chatting it up with you guys. So I appreciate the follow, G30. I see that follow there. Anybody? All right. Again, if you want the blueprint, just send me a DM. I'll shoot it over to you. And if you want to join our live trading sessions, you can click the link in my bio. It is just $50 and you will get all of this information, and you'll be able to join me, and you get early access to our course that is going to actually be releasing on May, right? So you get the full beginner to price action pro course absolutely free. It'll walk you through, if you're a beginner, all the way to actually how I turn, $100 into over $10,000 in profits utilizing funding accounts. So it has a full funding section, a full, blueprint section. It covers it all. And it also has all of my book recommendations from, The Power of Discipline, Atomic Habits, what is successful, what great leaders know and do, The Power of Getting Rich, one of my favorite books, essentially, The Richest Man in Babylon, all of these different things. You guys are going to be getting so much information. I glanced over this yesterday, and what do you know? It's up. Yeah. So I'll see you guys for tomorrow for our session then. Appreciate you guys for tapping in. And again, hope you guys got some value out of this live session here. Hope you guys got some value out of this live session. I'm thinking some time.